So I want to talk about this cycle of hate that seems to have been created. So there was maybe for some time a general perception among some Ethiopians that the average Tigrayan really did benefit too much from TPLF, which we know that's not true according to the data in that region. And then, you know, the last few years, there's been a sense given to Tigrayans that they've been hated, that they're hated because they're ethnic Tigrayan. And we're seeing the result of that on the war front and in the field. So what do you think it's going to take to undo that? And where do you see things going in that regard for the next several years?
Yes, there are wrong perceptions from every side I can see, especially now after the war. The hatred towards the Tigrayans is enormously increasing. While there is suspicion on the Tigrayans, you can see now. This, of course, is created by the Tigrayans themselves, as I can see it now. You know, they have shown betrayals in different forms. Tigrayans betrayed the Northern Division. There were Tigrayans officers, low ranks, up to the top officers. Then these people allied with TPLF, the Tigrayans, and attacked their colleagues. You have seen what they have done in Maikatra. And you have seen now also, as they advance toward the Amhara and the Afar region, it looks like a revenge. They are doing a lot of disastrous things. And more than that also, they are infiltrators, Tigrayans who have been living for many years with Amharas. They are serving them when they attack a town or something like that. They are there to direct them, they are killing, they are pointing to people and whatnot. This we have seen now. And this is creating a lot of suspicions of the Tigrayans. We have seen Tigrayans defecting. The moment the war started, 25 drivers in Djibouti, arrested drivers. They surrendered there. They gave up they asked for refugee and surrendered the cars to Djibouti. People on duty, international duty, like United Nations peace mission. There were officers who defected. And in some areas of the government are serving also TPLF. This is a very difficult situation. I mean, it's a very, very difficult situation. Now, how do we get out of this? It's very important. We have to get out of this. What I would advise, number one is, I think, number one, TPLF has to drop the idea of everything I want, I get it by force. They have to admit, they have to live with their neighbors, and then they have to negotiate. They cannot get whatever they want. They have enemies in Eritrea, enemies in Amhara, enemies in Afar. How could they live? The Tigrayans have to take now twice. That's not the way. These people have been living for centuries together. It's not what I want by force. That cannot work. So what I would say now is the TPLF has to withdraw from the areas it occupied from Amhara, Tigray, and then declare ceasefire and ask for negotiated settlement. This is one way I could see. And the other thing is the Tigrayans in other parts of Ethiopia. There are many Tigrayans. Tigrayans are the most refugees in Ethiopia, internal refugees in Ethiopia, I can say. They are everywhere. And then these people have to live with their neighbors. They have to try to build the confidence of the people. They have seen that. I think some wise people and elders to negotiate with their neighbors And they have to stand also. These Tigrayans have to stand with other people against TPLF, actually. They have to show we should live a peaceful life in this, where they are. So, and they have to advise people who are actually supporting TPLF, serving TPLF in these areas. They have to be advised. That's what I would say. So, you know, now there is a lot of confiscation, a lot of checks and control in Ethiopia. And you see a lot of history now. There is a lot of things coming out. This is not good for the Tigrayans, generally. So I would advise also the rest of the Tigrayan civilians now everywhere to consider this and to try to calm down the situation, talk to their neighbors, send whatever shimagles and discuss on the situation, that's all. But TPLF has also to withdraw to its region. I know now things have already changed in the battlefield too. It was smooth when they were coming in, but it would be difficult for them. Even if they don't go, it is to the disadvantage of the Tigrayans in the war front. So I would advise them to withdraw immediately, actually. So a lot of people dying, destruction. You can't explain this. What kind of leaders are leading these people?
So, you know, obviously the entire country is suffering because of this war, but what really strikes me is the wide impact on Tigrayans that this war has. And what I mean by that is it's entrapping Tigrayans everywhere. And it's so sad to know that innocent Tigrayans everywhere, the ones who just miskin, they had nothing to do with anything. They really just wanted to live and focus on their day-to-day. Now, for probably a long time, there's going to be an issue of trust of Tigrayans unless, and I think something that could help is, to your point, unless Tigrayans start to speak up and say, you know what, this has gone too far, this is not what we thought it was about, and we have to stand up against this entity that got us into this mess.
Yes, that's the only way I can see now, just at this point. In fact, I appreciate people of Ethiopia. I mean, it's civilized people, highly tolerant. Imagine the way TPLF acted, then the retaliation could have been much worse. They didn't retaliate. There are a lot of Amharas of Tigrayans in Amhara. When they killed in my country, Amharas, they could have retaliated, but they didn't. They didn't. They speak of ethnic cleansing. This is not ethnic cleansing. There has nothing to do with ethnic cleansing. There are a lot of Tigrayans living in Addis Ababa, more than 500,000 probably. There are a lot of Tigrayans in Amhara, in Gondar, more than 100,000 probably. Then nothing had happened against these people. You can imagine how tolerant our people are. So I think we have to admire this kind of quality of the Ethiopian people. But TPLF is trying it, pushing it so much so, then somewhere it can break. I'm afraid for that.
I think you know, moderate voices who can be on kind of bridge that gap or probably end just by the grace of God, considering how much is really up against the people. Is there anything else I didn't ask you that you think is worth noting on this issue?
Well, it is probably I wanted to comment on the Western media and the Western government's reaction to this situation. In fact, I have written a small article regarding this a year ago when I saw There was much disinformation, and based on disinformation, also countries making decisions, labeling this war as ethnic cleansing.
A force that will not abuse the human rights of the people of Tigray or commit acts of ethnic cleansing, which we've seen in Western Tigray, that has to stop.
I heard exactly. I wrote that paper 18th of November. Imagine, after the war, it's somewhere in 15th, 16th November, the parliament in Europe was discussing this and labeling this as ethnic cleansing. United Kingdom, they were discussing this and they were labeling it ethnic cleansing. It was much misinformation, and I mean, they didn't even mention why this war was, who provoked it, why it started. They don't even mention that. While even at that time, TPLF has officially declared it has attacked Northern Division. So, of course, this was due to TPLF had wide network connections during when it was in power. Researchers, journalists, lobbyists, even some officials in some of these ruling parties in Europe and in USA. So automatically it sets them into action, and they created this kind of image into the public. So the West is biased. It has been biased even until now. We see it. Have been a lot of United Nations Security Council meetings initiated by West. Americans have sanctioned Ethiopia. And the media war we see now also, it's just it's a media war. They are trying to create an image that some of them are become actually white activists of the TPLF, as you see. They were researchers, professional journalists. They are now activists. If the TPLF says we have captured Bati, they would say, they would add, gallant fighters of the TPLF have captured. It's a kind of this kind of magnifying disinformations that we see. So I am very much frustrated by the way the West is handling this situation. But in the final analysis, of course, truth wins. The facts will come out. In fact, one of the United Nations Security Council investigation on this issue has cleared a lot of things on this war. I think it is maybe some countries might reconsider their positions, but this is an unprovoked war started by TPLF, and then we are in this situation. We need, if there is some contribution from the West or other countries, we need a genuine support to resolve this issue.
It's opened my eyes, just as a journalist, it's opened my eyes to how the lie can really become the truth. I mean, that adage that the lie can go around the world before the truth can put on its shoes. Nowadays, with social media and how quickly things get out, I think that's even magnified. The lie does, 10 laps around the world before the truth can put up its teeth. Yeah, and I think one of them is this romanticizing, to your point, these gallant fighters, that took over like victorious, celebration. It's like, those are people just dying. It's war. It's war. I don't know why we paint it like this pretty movie where people are victorious. You see the people on top of cars, but you don't see all the dead people that are not being honored in that moment.
Can't you see, glorifying a child carrying a gun? They glorify it. What can you say? These are international medias.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Ato Ghidey Zeratsion, one of the original founders of TPLF. This was so much valuable information. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you for giving me this chance, at least to express my views to the public. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey everybody, please support independent journalism based on the truth by going to patreon.com/HermelaTV and becoming a member. Thank you so much for your support.